All right, hello everybody. Tom Stubulis with True North Group and the Virginia Small Business Development Center. Today we're have our Tuesday Facebook Live on a cybersecurity topic, and today we're going to talk about information sharing and what we say like intelligence. And the one thing I think is really important is that criminals and hackers they have an amazing information sharing and intelligence network. They are always sharing this information with each other, which really kind of puts all of us at a bit of a disadvantage. And the main reason is that, companies don't necessarily want to share if they had a breach or if they had an incident, because there's, public relations issues, the inside counsel or the lawyers get involved, and then they talk about, what could, how could we be held accountable? So it's been a very challenging environment for, the private sector to share information. And then it's also equally challenging because the public sector it doesn't necessarily always share information. Unfortunately, you'll hear about things because something's leaked or they, got wind of something, and then some investigative reporting, you find out that a city got hit with ransomware, or this private organization, or whatever. It's not something that has been readily released. Now, fortunately, a lot of states have instituted data breach information so that this information does get released to the public and it does get captured and analyzed, and hopefully where you have organizations like Verizon and many other organizations that create, like a data breach report, and they'll take all of this information and they'll aggregate it, and then they'll try to find these trends where they can then share with the public, share with other cybersecurity professionals. But if you own a business and you're in a specific industry, all of that general information may be too much, specifically for the size of your organization or the size of your IT department. So over the last number of years, there have been groups that have come together. There's information sharing and analysis organizations, that's an ISAO. And then a lot of people might be familiar with what you'll hear as an ISAC, which is an information sharing and analysis center. And those two there are more targeted towards specific industries. So you'll hear things like there's the FS, Financial Services, ISAC. It's a very large organization. It's filled with member banks of all different sizes. And what they do is they share information in a closed environment that specifically applies to financial services. And this has been used a number of times throughout the last, 10 years or so, where when organizations actually targeted these financial services organizations in these banks, and they started doing denial of services and distributive denial of services on these banks to shut down their websites and their services, these ISACs took this data and then shared it with other banks to hopefully give them the ability to recover or prevent the incidents that were happening with these larger banks. So as I said, there's, if you do a search for information sharing and analysis center, it'll pop right up. The organizations there's, I think, 25 different subcategories that cover everything from retail, healthcare, manufacturing, all different types of industries. Of course, there's oil and gas and electricity. And really the information that they're sharing amongst each other is related specifically to the things that may be impacting you. So, you think about the ransomware that happened with the Colonial Pipeline, how that happened, that phishing event, which ultimately exploited, a system which created the shutdown. In a retail environment, you may not have the same, you may not rely on email as much. Your back end might rely on it, but your overall, you're more concerned with your point of sale systems, because that's where most of your transactions occur. So speaking to other retail and organizations that are sharing some of the same challenges, you might be able to get a little more targeted information that is specifically for your industry. Also, it's broken down in, it's not all of the cyber speak. There's plenty of organizations for cybersecurity individuals to share information, but this is really for, small business owners, medium business owners, large enterprises. It really doesn't matter. And the goal is that some of the experiences that the larger retailers might be having, they'll be able to share some lessons learned with the medium-sized or the smaller businesses. That's just from an information or an ISAC, and then of course you have the analysis organizations. Both have the governing organization with multiple different industries that you can look at. They even have some working groups. So if you are interested in working with that, you can volunteer to work with some of these working groups and be able to share information back and forth without necessarily having all of that information having to go public. Also, there's Infragard. Now, Infragard is a partnership between the FBI and the private sector. And what they do is, the FBI, it has exposure to all types of different types of cybercrime. They're brought in on a lot of these large, breaches that occur. The FBI is brought in to help because there's financial implications, also because it's critical infrastructure. There's always, terrorist, questions that need to be answered or disproven. And what they'll do is there are multiple chapters all around the United States, and it's free to join. Basically, you just have to submit an application, and you would then be part of that Infragard organization. They, prior to COVID, they were doing in-person meetings, but there's also portals that you have access to where you get access to, let's just use an old term like, for official use only. But if you're a government contractor, the term is controlled unclassified information. It's information that is releasable to the public, but it's not necessarily as readily available. So there's a benefit to being in that. And then of course, when you have an opportunity to collaborate with other individuals, maybe in, if you're in Northern Virginia, there's a very strong group in the Northern Virginia, DC area that, regularly met and provided and shared information. But even without Infragard, all of your SBDCs have the ability, they have resources available on their sites that you can go and get what I would tell you is basically unbiased information, unbiased, webinars, and just like this Facebook Live. This is really just providing information to you. No one's trying to sell you anything. It's really just to give you the information that you might be able to help protect your business. So in addition to the SBDCs, the SBA, or the Small Business Association, also has a very good set of resources on their site to provide some very no cost services. They provide scanning similar to what we've offered here to do scanning for our organizations. They provide guidebooks on things that you may want to do. But really, it's kind of like, it's all there. And I think all of this is really just to make sure that don't get your information from mainstream media. And the reason is, if you watch mainstream media, you'll see that they have time limits. They have agendas. They handpick the individuals that come in. Some of those individuals are great experts. Some of them, may not be so great, but what I'm saying is there's always these individual knowledge. And really what you want to use mainstream media for is to get notified of something that may be occurring. But if you really want to get accurate information on what you could do or steps that you could take so that you don't become a victim of cybercrime, I would use more of these unbiased organizations like the information sharing and analysis centers or the analysis organizations, because their common goal is to help each industry to get that. They're not paid on advertising. They're not paid on the number of clicks that they get to their sites. So they're working in a different paradigm, and really it's just to get that information out. And a lot of this information is free. So it's, and that's another thing is that, business owners have a lot of expenses already. There are paid services that you can do. There's some very great cybersecurity companies that provide managed services, provide threat intelligence, but it all comes at a fee. And really, if you don't have that in your budget, I would highly recommend you leverage the no-cost solutions to the best of your ability. And then if at some point you need more intelligence, then you can make that choice or make an educated choice as to whether you want to engage with an organization that provides paid services. So really, like I said, the ISAC, which is an ISAC, easy search, all different types. There's also the ISAOs, also a very easy search on Google. And then, of course, leveraging the SBA and leveraging the your regional SBDCs all throughout the states. They all have some advisors that are more than happy to sit down and talk to you and really just kind of give you that unbiased information to help you protect your businesses. So that's it, everybody. Have a great Tuesday and look forward to seeing you next week.